As I represent the Netherlands in the south of America, in the south of the United States, I should say, I'm thrilled to say a few words to introduce Anouk. Now, 1 week ago we had the Ultra Music Festival. I'm sure you heard about that. And if not, you must have heard it. At least I did in my hotel room. I was shaking. But there were some Dutch people there. Tiesto, Armin van Buuren, Afrojack. And this week the Dutch cultural show continues. Tech, culture, design, young makers. We're absolutely thrilled to have so many Dutch people coming to Miami, to Florida, to show what a small country can do in the way of innovative thinking and innovative design. So Anouk, great to have you here, and show them what you can do.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mario and Tom. I know that Ian Cole's here as well from the Maker Faire Orlando, which I've been to the last time with my husband. And it's great. Like, Maker Fairs are awesome. Like, it's for me a great meeting place to see all my fellow collaborators and artists and engineers and all of that stuff. It's a great place for like other people, for people growing up, or for adult people, for everybody just to come together and to celebrate the notion of innovation and making and creating together. And I have been doing this for quite a long time. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've seen it grow, sort of, and just all the love that comes from the community and all the love that comes from all being together is just impeccable. It's amazing. So thank you for being here, and thank you for enjoying this with us and celebrating this with us, because do-it-yourself, open source, education, everything here, it's the future. It's a future that our children grow up with and that we live by, sort of. So thank you so much. So I am a Dutch fashion tech designer. I started with fashion design when I was 14 years old, and I started with robotics when I was 17 years old. So I basically rolled into the notion of creating fashion because I thought it was interesting. For me, fashion was about expression, and it was about communication. For me, only the thing that I had when I was designing this fashion, it was not enough for me. For me, the garments and the textiles that I was creating was not doing something. It was not breathing, it was not moving, it was not necessarily living with me. So I wanted something else, and when I was 17 years old, I got into robotics because robots for me were the heartbeats. They were sort of the intelligence, and they were the thing that I wanted to combine. So this is what I started to do in the beginning of 2000, and that is a little bit the work that I'm going to present to you. To start off with is my own experience today. I want to point out some things that we saw. We only ran in like really quickly. But if you come in, like, there's a really cool thing that Particle's doing. They have their particle mesh, and it's at the right side when you come in. And there's a really cool game that they have. They have it like set up in these boxes, and it's called Space Team. So if you guys want, like, go with 4 people and like try to sort of communicate together and play this game because it's really fun. They also have Mohit Boyd, and I hope I pronounce your name right. He creates these really cute sculptures based also on the particle mesh sort of system. So he has like a little torchlight and like games. This is like a temperature sensor. And this was the particle team this morning. That was kind of funny. We also made some shirts. So I think they're like, I think they're $5 and it's really cool because you can make your, one thing is buying your own shirt, the other thing is making your own shirt, right? So I think that's really cool. So just like some things to point out here. But my name is Anouk and I create robotic garments. I use 3D printing, I use electronics and everything that comes with it. And I used to say I create designs that turn transparent, that rip ink, supply you with cocktail shots, or conceal themselves in smoke. My dresses have microcontroller heartbeats and e-batteries for dinner. They flirt and interact with you like humans do, and get frustrated when you get too close in their personal space. They need attention and regular checkups to survive, and exposure to heavy rain can give them a short-circuit ticket to robot dress heaven. So how that looks like, you already seen it in a sort of preview. And on me, this is one of my designs. It's a robotic spider dress. And what it does basically, it has proximity sensors in the front, which you can see here. And they are measuring the intimate space, the personal space, the social space, and the public space. So you guys are now in my public space. And when there's an intruder, somebody walking up to this dress, the dress is attacking. So the dress has robotic limbs on the shoulders. So I took some things with me. I'm not gonna show them around, but I will be later at the table outside. So if you want to see this a little bit closer up, I'm gonna show you like some of the mechanics, some of the 3D printing, and all of that stuff. If you want to see it closer up, you can come to me. So this is what this dress does. And then one of my other dresses is the smoke dress. It is a dress also based on sensors, and the more people are in the immediate surroundings of this dress, the more it starts to smoke. So whether like the spider dress for me is a really aggressive design, right? It's really there out to pinch you, sort of to attack you. The smoke dress for me has to do with like sensuality. It has to do with emotion, with shyness maybe, you know? You push up this layer of smoke and you can hide behind it. So what I do is I research and I do a lot regarding to putting like emotion in there. What if our garments can respond to like moods and to environmental stuff and all of that? How would that look like? Another project what I did was, when I was working at Autodesk, they invited me to be an artist in residency in San Francisco. And it was for me really cool because they had like this really big workshop and a lot of tools, a lot of 3D printers and laser cutters and all kind of stuff to work with. And me as an artist and as a designer sort of, like that is a perfect thing. Like artist in residency programs are there to give artists sort of possibilities that they can normally not do. They have access to certain softwares or certain tools or certain equipment. So that is a really fun thing. So what I did as one of the projects, I created a robotic cocktail dress. And for me this is a little bit like a social design because it's literally giving you a cocktail sort of. So there's like a little push button, it's all Adafruit, a little push button going up to a peristaltic pump and goes to the front and serves you the shot sort of. There's like a little NeoPixel ring in the front. And I created these designs for Cirque du Soleil, which we know as a theater. They also have a restaurant in Ibiza, which is kind of fun. It's called Heart Ibiza, and they do a lot of like food experimentation. So you can go there and your food starts to smoke or explode and all of that stuff. So that was for me the perfect location to create this dress for. And the other thing is falling a little bit off the screen here, but sometimes you make design and it goes well. And sometimes you make design and you think it goes well, and it doesn't. So in this case, I had the cocktail dress, which was working really well. She was serving drinks and all of that stuff. I also made a design which was shooting bubbles, and I thought it was a great idea until it was in the restaurant and it was actually shooting bubbles at people's heads and tables. So talking about failure, right, and embracing it. So it was this big joke. It was like, okay, this first dress kind of cool and super cool, and the second one might be too aggressive here. So you learn from that. But the team is really fun to work with. Like Cirque du Soleil is so much fun. I also worked for their nightclub. I created designs that exploded in glitter and little paper snaps at New Year when the clock was turning to zero, sort of to celebrate the New Year, and some other stuff. So they're really fun. So what you have here on the back is an Bartendro pump. So it's a peristaltic pump by Party Robotics. So basically, she has a button, makes the peristaltic pump go on. It turns around and it allows the fluid to be pumped from basically her hip to the front, sort of. So that's how the system is working. A lot of these, sort of projects, I try to open source. I learned from Arduino and the open source community, so I like to give back where I can. So if you go to Instructables, you see like these projects and Hexter and all of that stuff. So also how to make your own robotic cocktail dress. Another thing what we did with the Maker Faire Bay Area is Architect. I don't know how many of you guys know them. They're in a band and they have like big Tesla coils and they basically play guitar and then they shoot the arcs and the Tesla coils. So how many people? It's Joe the Prima and yeah, cool. Yeah, they're super cool. So they're friends of mine and we created together this Faraday dress in where I was standing in between our coils and we tried to make these plasma balls on my shoulder light up. So I also published that on Instructables. I don't know if you should do it yourself, and also I don't think that you have access to Tesla coils, but it's on there if you wanna see that. I'm not talking about it now, but so yeah, some other things as well. So yeah, I started basically in the beginning of 2000s, strapping really big computers to the body, you know, which was not sexy. And then I was looking for like, okay, I have the looks, but if she turns around, there's a really big computer there, right? And in the beginning of 2000 and 2004, these guys came in, and it was Arduino, and they had a team in Italy, and David Quartilas, he was teaching in Sweden, and I got a hold on that, and I was like, hey, that's interesting, I would like to know more, so I joined this lab, and they were interested in people that are using different things with technology, so motors and all of that stuff, so I came in doing like some textile work, like hooking up little motors to textiles, making them move and all of that stuff. So that was really cool, like to see how I could utilize Arduino, and especially from the fashion background, it was all about a piece of technology that becomes smaller, a little microcomputer that I could put in my garments, sort of. So basically, what these guys were doing, they were making things accessible, and they also made electronics fun. So that was one like really important thing for me. In that case, like making it accessible, coming from fashion, starting to understand like programming and electronics and all of that stuff, and also making it very accessible, making a small, a small module, and also making that open source. So what I'm using basically is a laptop, so to design, using Autodesk software to program, using Arduino. I do a lot of things with Raspberry Pi. The Zero, and to communicate. The sewing machine to create, to construct, and to produce, and soldering station to construct, to compile, and to engineer. So these things I've been like touring for many years, like place to place and residency to residency, and I'm happy to call Florida my house now with my husband Jeff. So that's kind of cool. So for me, it's really fun to meet all of you guys. You know, the school here, Miami, Moonlight, the Makerspace, and also all these guys here. That's really important. It's like it's our community, you know. So that is cool. So yeah, how I started with all of that stuff was pretty messy. This is a project called Pseudomorphs, in where I wanted to create the notion of a drop of ink in water. And for me, it has that magical, sort of uncatchable feel, because it's just really hard to grasp. And for me, that was just this magical thing. So I wanted to see how I could capture that in a dress, and that is halfway 2000, 2006, 2007. And what I mostly do first, and this is like 11 years back, but like what I do is I create a sort of an artist statement, like, okay, I have this idea, how would it look visually, you know? So I put it in a drawing, or I Photoshop it in, and basically when I have that sort of ultimate vision of what I'm going to create, sort of, then you're going to go back to, okay, how can I do that? So first it is like, how does it look like? So like this. And how am I going to do that? Because that might be the trick, sort of, you know? So again, 10 years back, you go to a hospital and you just ask them what they have. But you might be able to use, sort of, so I still don't know until this day if there's any hospital people here, tell me, but I think it's like pain management, like pumps and valves and all of that stuff. So, but I was really happy with that. So yeah, then I started to see how I could basically use this sort of tube system. What I learned was I want to use solenoid valves. So I stepped into Festo. They had these air valves that I want to use for fluids. So yeah, starting to design a system which has here basically pumps that are pushing the liquid together. So you insert it, push the ink together. Here is the little tube that goes there. The control panel is in here. The solenoid valves. And when these open, they let the ink go through, sort of. So this is one of those air valves. Again, they should have been used for air, but I used them for liquid at that time. And I was doing a summer session at V2. V2 is the Institute for Unstable Media in the Netherlands, and they're super badass. And especially for people like me that were just doing freaky stuff in the half of 2000s. And I was happy that later on, like, we could revise that project and sort of give it more power. And for me, it's really, again, like really cool, like these residencies that people invite you to, or these institutes about just researching, you know. And especially at that time, that was really important. So basically, what I did with them was sort of a half-year residency. Actually, 4 months it was, where I created a few systems that I'm actually still using. So that's kind of cool. But what we did here was we made our own PCB using Eagle, which is now Autodesk Eagle. We used sort of a 9-volt battery going to the system, big heatsink that was not necessarily afterwards, solenoid valves, and yeah, here you see sort of the dirty version of how that looks. What I'm using a lot, which I really like, is called snake wire. So you have it here. Flexopad is also called. So what I often do to make it a more like fabricy look, I can write this down for you, but I put these over my wires. So instead of having like this feel, everything is nicely bundled together, and also the Flexopad also can give a nice shape, for example. So you can see them closer, but that's like a little trick that I always use to bundle them up. And then basically this is the end dress, which looks really nice now, but it was like a big puddle of ink in the end. But yeah, basically what happened was you put in the ink in the little storage, goes up, goes to the solenoid valves, they open and they push it through. So that's the product itself was launched at ICEA in Germany. And then I got in contact with this lady. She was a stylist in LA. Her name is Bea Akerdoens, and she's the stylist for Lady Gaga and for Madonna and Britney Spears and all those people. She's really cool. You should look her up. And she asked me, she said like, hey, I was seeing what you were doing with ink and I really like it. Can we use it for one of my clients? And that happened to be Britney Spears. So this was fun. The clip, Hold It Against Me, you see her, it's not the same, it's not solenoid, it was like big pump sort of, you know, and pushing this ink through. But you see in one of the, part of the clip, you see this scene coming. So she had these tubes on her fingers and she was shooting out ink. So that came to be happening to be my second collaboration with the same stylist, because she asked me to do something for the Super Bowl. And at that time I was in the Netherlands, and we have football, which is not as big as the Super Bowl here. So she said, like, I was like, a football game? Oh yeah, sure, let's do it. I had no idea it was the best watched Super Bowl game at that time. It was 112 million people watching, and I was like, ew. So I got to know America. It was my first time in America, and I got to know America from the most biggest side that I could possibly be, sort of. So it was kind of fun and also super scary because I'm an anxious person. So what I did was, she asked me to do the whole Black Eyed Peas, but I said I only do mostly like female, and that's what I felt comfortable with, sort of, you know. So what we decided is I was doing Fergie, and then another friend, who's a friend of me later, is Jose Fernandez, and he has a studio called Ironhead Studio, and you guys should look him up. They are doing basically all the costumes for Tron, like Spider-Man, Alien, like all these guys. So it's ironheadstudio.com, and so he was basically, Jose was doing Will.i.am, and then this one was done by Brent, and this person, I don't know exactly, but we all worked on it, and I got to do Fergie. So what happened there was, it's basically a shield, so not 3D printed at the time, was molded and casted, and it's inserted with Swarovski crystals. And there's high power LEDs coming through, because one big thing was the Super Bowl has a lot of light, and I needed to find a way for this piece to be super impressive, sort of, you know. So the batteries are under the shoulder blades here, and the cool thing about using these Swarovskis, the high power LEDs, they got warm, they got hot, and basically by using this plated Swarovski, it was like metal on the backside, it functioned as a really fashionable heat sink. So that was kind of a cool extra thing. I was like, I want to use Swarovskis, and then they came and they had these plates. So I made like a little distance between that and between the Swarovski crystals. And basically the Swarovski crystals are not a crystal but a metal plating in the back. They were cooling down the high power LEDs.
It's happening at the same time.
It's worse when they're hungry.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're not charming me today.
I'm putting this in. Next is following a dog. But my husband said I should leave it into this clip. So that's So I did a presentation the other day, and I was like, Jeff, remind me to get this dog out of the clip, and he said like, no, you should leave it in. So there it is, it's the dog. Yeah. So so it's basically the shield what you saw already, and then also the shoes were I used like in high power LED, and this is a material called Luminex, and basically Luminex is from a city called I think it's Prato, and basically they're known for lace making. So their machines are made for lace making, and the machines are really strong to make that lace. And at one point they were like, okay, we want to see in other options of still using our machines but do something different with it. So they came up with something, and it is optic fiber. And basically they're using their super strong machines to create this fabric. So that's really cool. So it's called Luminex. And basically it's all optic fiber. And you shine through it with the high power LED, and it's basically lighting it all up. So if you want to look into like cool ways of creating maybe like light up dresses and all, like Luminex is a really cool way to do that. And again, that's kind of cool that technology is an old technology for the machines that they were using was for like lace making, and then how they could like revise that. So that's pretty awesome. That's the clip.
And I never felt this way before, and I swear
Really low res, but sorry for that.
and I owe it all to you.
So one of my things with like working with sometimes America, like one thing that the stylist was asking, she said, I want to have a sexy, maybe a Gucci kind of dress for this performance. And I did not fully understand it, so I thought my sexy is this, you know, because I was looking at the game, I was doing like some research, and there was these sort of these plates, I don't know what the name is, but the things that the Super Bowl players are. Yeah, it has a certain, I think it has a different name as well, but like for this specific thing, but yeah, shoulder pads. So I thought that would be a really cool thing, and she said like, okay, not what I expected, but yeah, this is cool, you know. So I had no idea. I'm from the Netherlands, you know, no idea. So we worked on that, and like they loved it. Actually, we worked also on a dress which was fully Luminex. I didn't put it in here, but because it was pretty fragile, all these like the Luminex, like the optic fibers, they all clinched together. So the sort of the effect when it came, like when I would use it again, and it's just a tip, and I think that's also what they were also starting with that. when we got to collaborate, but like putting some kind of resin over it so it holds a little bit better. That's something that I would suggest. Makes it a little bit more sculptural and also protects the fiber so it doesn't bundle together sort of. So in the end we didn't really use this, so we used this design. So another thing regarding to like FashionTech and stage, right? So performance. This is Victoria Modesta, and Victoria is a bionic pop artist. She has one leg. She has a prosthetic leg, and for me it's a really fun way to collaborate with her because she is missing her leg, and I basically use that as a storage space to place my electronics in. So I'm like, yeah, sure. So, and Victoria is just really this amazing like role model for the disability community because she says with the prosthetics that she's making, she does a lot of collaborations with artists and designers, creating these art legs, you know. And basically what she's saying is it's not a disability, it is actually a superpower or something really cool what I have here, that I can wear any leg that I want and be very customized in that sort of, you know. And a lot of people with having a disability are like really super inspired. And there's a project and from Open Bionics. I don't know if you guys know that. Open Bionics makes prosthetic arms, and they do also like workshops and all of that stuff. And one of the cool stories was that one girl wanted to have a bubble, a prosthetic arm shooting bubbles, you know? So they made that for her, and I think that's just the most incredible thing because she said, this is something that my classmates don't have, you know, and I want my arm to shoot bubbles, and it was just, it's just such a cool thing what now can happen, and we can print that for her, you know, or they printed that for her, they made that for her, and that's just really cool. So that project is called Open Bionics, if you guys want to look into it. And again, like if I'm working on some of the prosthetics, we just did a collaboration for Rolls-Royce. I'm making this spike at the moment for her, lightening up. And sometimes if I'm working with her on her legs, I told her I wish that I could have the same, you know. So because it's just like such cool things that you can basically do with it, like scanning it in and just imagining what her leg is, and she's so happy, like exploring with it. So she's like performing with it and all of that stuff. So this is one of the projects called Sonifica, in where we worked together with Eric Goldenberg from Monad Studio, and he's in Miami. He's a teacher at FIU, and he's basically creating 3D printed instruments. So that is really cool. His studio is Monad Studio, and together with him and Victoria, we sat together on creating a sort of a performance in where she was this sort of musical instrument. So there's an accelerometer in her leg, and there's like touch sensors on the sculptural body piece that she has. So basically she makes sound using her leg, which is an instrument, and then she's modulating that sound using these tusks. So that's a really cool project. It's called Sonifica.
I'm Victoria Modesta, and I'm a bionic pop artist. You know, with the spike leg that I had, it kind of, you know, it very much lent itself to using the point of the leg as a kind of circling tool, the point as a way of damaging something. But with this new leg, it's much more organic and almost kind of stomping and kind of animal sort of energy in it. I think that, you know, when we get to the stage where we get into that final kind of performance character, it's actually probably going to be a surprise to me just as much as it will be to you, because it's like I guess it's like exploring an identity that this new equipment and silhouette will sort of give me.
So this project in collaboration again with Autodesk, who I've been working with since 2013. So it's called the New Bionic on their website. So it's something cool to check out. And again, her name is Victoria Modesta. She's just badass. So look her up as well. So yeah, another thing is like I do a lot of like collaborations. I love to work with like friends, like fellow makers. I worked with like architects, I work with companies, I work with like a lot of things, and I think like collaboration is so much fun, sort of, you know, because you get to merge your like your sort of your identity and your DNA with another like discipline, for example, a lot of that stuff. So one of the collaborations that I did was with Audi in 2015, and they asked me to create like a collection based on their car. So I did. So basically, the designs are based on like using their the parking sensors and using their high power LEDs into sort of a collection. So it was super bright, so that was really fun to work with. Other than like the Super Bowl was like the high power LEDs were a little bit smaller, so we work with like really big those sort of sections. So we like some of the development is using like both their like sort of destruction, so like polygons, seeing how things could like open up. Like this is like changing like was a projection map dress, so it was like projections mapped upon. So seeing like different things, so that's one phase, right? So you go into this notion of like, okay, what is the thing that I need to do here, and like second thing is like, okay, what are we creating here? And then the third thing is like, how can we do that? So this is a dress that I'm still busy with. This one we didn't use in the end, but this one we did. So it's a little bit of a showcase of that. Can you guys go back to my keynote? Maybe I did do that. I don't know. Should not blame other people, honestly. Not in the fight. I don't know. Okay, let's try it again.
No.
Thanks. Check them out, but they did all the visual behind it, and that was really cool. Like I was designing stuff and like sending stuff to them, and they used like sort of shapes, and together we had basically like 6 power walls behind it, and the models were like walking past it, and then there was like projection mapping that was like symbiotic with them. So it was a really fun project. Let me show this. Then it went basically that whole collection went to the car shows in China. So one thing is to make a cool performance, sort of, right, which you showed there at Berlin City, sort of the Audi headquarters. And then they needed to go for 120 shows to China, and that's a whole other thing. So I was happy that I was using light and not sort of robotics, but these dresses were doing like 120 shows at a car show there. But for me, it's really like working with companies. Like Audi was really cool because they really had this vision of like this, like sort of the darkness and the light and like all of that stuff. And for me, it's really cool because for me, it's really good when my DNA can merge with them, their brands as identity. Sort of, you have something that is matching together, and that is really important for me. Like working with clients, because in the end, you produce something that you are both really proud of. And I mean, I'm showing that to you guys because I'm proud of these designs. And for me, it's all about blurring the lines that we worked on with them. Like, what is cars? What is fashion? And how can we create this really cool, like, sort of collaboration between all of us? So another thing, and that is a little bit my main research, or has been, again, these spaces that I told to you about before. So the intimate, personal, the social, and the public. And this is a dress that I go back to. and that is based on basically the octopus or salapod, still need to look it up, but it's pushing out ink and it dives away. So that's actually the notion and the animal that the smoke dress is based on. So playing with these spaces and the intimate, personal, and playing with the notion of like sort of having an emotional interface. And if I build these dresses, I don't go from this to that sort of to end final or end product. The smoke dress had 9 versions to be the version that it is now. First I had like a drip system with CO2. Another one was like a really big smoke machine. The body, again, like looks nice from here, but when you turn around, so then like looking at different ways that you can do this. And in 2011, this was like the version that I had at that time. So the dress itself is made from thread and nail polish. So I wasn't doing like 3D printing then, because like sometimes I like to do things like super high end. Sometimes I just like to go with what I have to explore that and to push yourself, sort of, you know. So this was that dress. Okay.
Either in an emotional.
Tell someone to play. Okay, okay. No. Sorry, one more time.
Either in an emotional.
No, doesn't matter. So basically, yeah, looking at like having LEDs and the smoke was coming through the shoulders and up to the body. When I started to redesign this, one thing that I wanted to change was, if you see the spider dress is a really hard like V-shape design and it's really out there, sort of, you know. I found that this design, if I put it into 3D, which I started, it looks very X shape. It looked too dominant. So what I did with the 3D printed version was like taking the shoulders away and also pushing the smoke more coming out of the hips, creating more of a pear shape. So the dress is more of a pear shape. And this was a collaboration with Volkswagen in 2012. So this is the dress how it is now. So it's a little bit more like, more like central to look at, because the attention is not going to the shoulders, which makes it very masculine, you know. The attention goes more to the hip and this pear shape beside. So that was a collaboration with Autodesk in Maya and architect Niccolo Casas. He's an Italian friend of mine, and together we wanted to explore how to create a design which looks a little bit like a shell, but also like a fabric. So basically the middle part is from TPU, which is a thermoplastic polyurethane, and it's all printed in SLS, so selective laser sintering, printed in powder. And the side is PA12, so it's an polyamide. And basically getting sort of the smoke coming from the shoulders and letting it go to the hips, making it turn around and push out, was here sort of the research. So other than like a normal 3D printer, I don't know who of you guys have like 3D printers here? And yeah, oh. Jeff has mine, so it's not fair. But so yeah, so this is not necessarily like 3D printing. It's in the family of 3D printing, but it's called selective laser sintering. So if you print things out as like shapeways, it's often like selective laser sintering. And at that time, this was 2012, they just came up with this material called TPU, so thermoplastic polyurethane, which you can see here is a little bit flexible, which was like for a lot of fashion designers and people that were trying to do this stuff, like really cool. And what is happening with selective laser sintering, you have basically a CO2 like laser beam goes into a little like scanner mirror, goes down, and the whole process chamber is fitted like with powder. There's this little slider going back and forth, so every time when it's basically materializing a layer, it slides a layer of powder on there, and it pushes the laser in there again, and it's materializing that part. So like layer by layer, you get your part out there, and the rest is powder. So if you're making like more difficult geometries, you basically take out your file, your STL, or like whatever you print it out to, and all the powder falls off. So you can create a lot of space in your design, for example. So in this case, like doing this stuff is sort of the way to go. So these were some, while I was still busy with the shoulders, like some tests of getting light and smoke through there. system, it's based on silicone and it's pushing it to the front, out to the shoulders, into the hips, and that's where it comes out. And that was for a bigger showcase of Volkswagen in 2012. So that's really cool, like to see it later on models on the stage in such a big show again, like a car show. So how many minutes do I still have? I'm starting to go around things. 3, oh no! Oh my god, I might need like 5. Because, I want to try to show this.
You can run a little long. I think I said you can run a little long.
Yeah, okay, 6 minutes. Yeah, thanks Ian. I'm always like, sometimes I have like my presentation nailed down and now I feel more comfortable, so I start to tell like more stuff around it. So who knows this game? Limbo. Awesome, yeah, so it's a really cool game. So this actually inspired like the spider dress. So it's this game about this like little shadow boy. It's pretty cool and cruel as well. But there's a spider and there's a boy, and not more I'm gonna tell in the Maker Faire situation. But it's just a really nice game, and there's this spider in there. And the music is really nicely done. You know exactly what you do right or wrong based on the music, and it really takes you onto this journey, and it's very eerie. So one thing is what I always try to do is like write down what I think is interesting, and then like start to make a mock-up, and that doesn't have to be high tech. Like these like little places I want to simulate this, like sort of this spider. The boy walks up to the spider legs, and the spider legs react to that, and that was a very nice like thing. So what I started to do was like creating a little system and little pulleys, and starting to see how I could resemble that. This one is based on a teensy.
Time now for the Black Widow edition of Weird Planet.
That's the
now,
first
I don't know about
version.
you, but some people really have issues with personal space, right?
Really?
So if you get too close, I would be wearing a dress like this. Take a look. This is a robotic spider dress.
Yep, 6 robotic limbs protrude from a black dress, crawling around your body. There are 6. We know spiders have 8 legs, but it's a dress. Get over it.
It's this wearable dress that's equipped with sensors that interact with the people around you. If they get too close, those legs will come out and just push them away.
Yeah, so it's not just weird legs moving around randomly, like if you strapped a giant 6-legged spider to your back.
Hey, I would love to wear that dress at a bar.
Yeah, I don't know how that would go over for you, because the people who would come up to talk to you might not be the people that you're most excited to talk to back. I mean, you might really need it for the personal space thing.
No, exactly. It would be fun.
Yeah, so that's a fun thing what happens like when you create these designs and people talking about it. So there's Discovery Channel. So again, going back to that space and having that dress. The dress was there already sort of, but I got to work with Intel in 2014, 15 and 16. And basically what I introduced in 2014 was the Intel Edison, which is their like a little module. And I was working for them, and I said like, well, one of the things, I built a few things and devices for them, and with this Intel Edison, and one of the things that I wanted to recreate was the spider dress, because I wanted it to be more intelligent, and I wanted to work on it again, and also like 3D print it. So that is basically what happened there. So this is the second version. So the first version was actually a black version, inspired by the game Limbo. This is the version that was sort of the brand collaboration with Intel, and you already saw it. So yeah. So one of the big things here was, instead of using laser cuts, using 3D printing, in where like one big problem that I had with laser cuts was that I was using over 200 screws in the design. Every time when the system was going out, sort of they rattled out, sort of. So that is a really cool thing regarding to the design, like some design elements. The eyes of the spiders are the neck, using kidneys, using vertebrae. So this is a little bit of the design process, which I need to skip through. So basically, using these spaces, and basically when people step into the space, the dress is attacking, and it's attacking in different states. Because when you walk in very closely, very fast, the dress is also reacting faster than when you're more of a gentleman or a gentle girl and walking up to this dress, you know. So I developed something for this dress called 12 states of behavior. So depending on how you walk into the space and also the distance that you have towards this design, the design is reacting differently, sort of based on these spaces. So for me, to close down, like fashion is about an interface, sort of. And for me, this interface at one point becomes a tool. And Like looking at different ways, and that's why I want to show the video. Like we also created at Intel some spider robots, so that was also for the Maker Faire. So they were walking.
I'll talk to us after this. Anouk is going to go sit outside and show all the stuff. So I want to give everybody time for her to get outside. You can take pictures. You can ask her thousands of questions. You can do all that. And so we'll delay the next talk a couple minutes so you guys can make it back if you want to make it back. And what we'll do is allow that so they can set up the next talk and you guys can ask her all the questions and look at it up and close. It's pretty awesome. A big round of applause.